which is a county of northeast England. Mary's mother was a prostitute who married a man named Billy Bell. Mary's mother had a tendency to take off during long periods of time, leaving Mary with her stepdad or other relatives. So the town they lived in was a struggling town. It wasn't out of the ordinary for local men to be out of work, drunk, gambling, and throwing away their family's savings or committing petty crimes. So Mary's not starting off great, doesn't have a supportive mother, isn't really in an area where she'll flourish, kind of set up to fail. So her first brush with trouble was Saturday, May 11th, 1968. Mary and her next-door neighbor slash friend, Norma Joyce Bell, who was 13, were questioned in the assault on a young boy named John G. that was Mary's cousin. John, who was only 3 years old at the time, was found behind some sheds, injured and was bleeding from the head. The girls both gave the same statement, which was very much false, that they couldn't figure out how he got behind there, and that they had never taken them there to play, so they were really unsure. So, kind of a lie, but that was the first notable brush of trouble that Mary had had. And her second was Sunday, May 12th, 1968, the day after 3-year-old John was injured. The cops were called out to look into an incident where Mary and Nora, they too, would be questioned again. One of the neighborhood women, Mrs. Peterson, had called the cops. She had told them that between 3 and 5 p.m. at the local sand pit, that either Mary or Norma had tried to strangle her daughter Pauline, whom was 7, and 2 of her friends who were 6 years old, and they were Cindy Heppel and Susan Cornish. Norma had gave her statement stating, Mary put both hands around the girl's throat and squeezed. The girl started going purple. I had told Mary to stop, but she wouldn't. She did this for a while and then had put her hands around Pauline's throat, who started to go purple as well. Both Pauline and the other girl were crying. Another girl, Susan Cornish, came up, and Mary had done the same to her. Susan had some rock, sweet rock, and Mary had taken this off of her. I said to Mary, "There's be trouble," and Mary asked if I wanted some rocks, which I said yes, and had a piece from her. This must be candy. I then ran off and left Mary. I am not friends with her now. I just remembered this is a child killer, so the conversations are a little more juvenile, right? It's like, oh, she gave me candy and I laughed, but I saw So Mary's statement was different from Norma's. She never mentioned anything about the three girls. She'd mentioned that I went behind the shed to play. Okay, so we never took our cousin here, but we've been there to play before, okay? So she said, I went behind the shed to play. When I was behind the shed, I'd heard Pauline scream. I had came up from behind the shed and saw her running away towards the fence. She was holding her throat and screaming. I asked Norma what had happened, and she said that Pauline had fallen and hurt her throat on the edge of the sand pit. Sounds like an easy chat between a child, you know. So the police looked into the statements and other inquiries and decided not to take any actions other than informing the children's department and letting the girls know what would happen to them in case there were any future incidents, which there were. So now we'll talk about the murder of Martin Brown. Martin Brown was found dead at 3 p.m. on Saturday, May 25th, 1968, a day before Mary's 11th birthday. So she was 10 years old while doing all of these things. He was found in a back bedroom in a run-down abandoned house, bleeding and drooling from the mouth. Martin was seen a few minutes earlier buying candy and talking with construction workers near the abandoned house. He was found by 3 boys looking for scrap wood to make a dovecote, like a little birdhouse kind of. When they had found Martin's body, they'd obviously freaked out and called out to the construction workers, whom had ran and tried to save him, but ultimately were too late. Just at that moment, Mary and Norma were on their way into the building when they were stopped and told that they had to leave. Mary was actually bringing Norma there to show her that she had killed Martin. When the girls were told to leave, they went straight to Martin's aunts and told her there was an accident and that Martin may be involved. They said there was blood all over, and Mary told Martin's aunt that she would take her to the crime scene. The Criminal Investigation Department was never called in because upon further investigation, the police found an empty bottle of aspirin near Martin's body. No strangulation marks were found or any other marks. Nothing that indicated there was foul play. So they had actually ruled it out as an accidental death. So the community was obviously outraged and marched and protested about the large amount of abandoned buildings in the area and the amount of dangers they were obviously presenting. So Mary and Norma would ask Martin's aunt creepy questions like, do you miss Martin? Do you cry for him? Does June miss him? And that's Martin's mom, obviously. And they would ask her these questions with a big smile on their face, kind of laughing, as if making fun of her and taunting her. She had enough one day and told them to never come back and go away. Just kind of messed up. Like, kids are like that though. They're like, oh, shocked by her morbid attitude and slammed the door in her face, rightfully so. I would probably, I don't know what I would do if a child did that to me. And Mary then just kind of became uncontrollable. Sorry. On Sunday, the 26th, on her 11th birthday, she was at Norma's house playing with Norma's sister Susan, who was also 11. When all of a sudden, Susan's dad heard her screaming and ran into the room to find Mary's hands wrapped around Susan's neck. Susan's dad recalled saying, "I chopped Mary's hands away and gave her a clip on the shoulder." Mary had then threatened to tell her father, but nothing had came of it. What would you do if your child was playing with a friend that you knew very well, and they were like, what would you do? You know, I don't think I'd be able to handle it. I would lose my mind. So then, on Monday, May 27th, in the early hours of the morning, teachers were arriving at the day nursery nearby and were shocked to find the place had been broken into and ripped apart. The suspects had broken in through the roof by removing these slats on the roof. There were then 4 notes that read as follows. One saying, "I murder so that I may come back." Fooch of "We murder. Watch out, Fanny," and an F word that I won't say. "We did murder Martin Brown. F of you bastard. You were our micey because we murdered Martine. Go Brown, you beat. Look out there. Our murderers. About to buy Fanny and old F thing. You screws." Like what? So the police read them. The English is terrible. I read it kind of normal for you. I almost couldn't read it the wrong way. My brain was like, no. But they disregarded it as a sick joke and were like, this is stupid, so nothing was done about the notes that Mary would later admit that she did write as a joke. So after that break-in, the school installed a security system. And on the 31st, the alarm had went off at the day nursery. Mary and Norma were then caught. They denied having to do anything with the previous break-in, although they did, or at least Mary did, and were let go into their parents' custodies until their court date. A week later, Mary accosted Norma near the nursery's sand pit, and a young boy had claimed to even see Mary scratch and kick her in the eye. So, Mary then visited Brian Howe's home near the end of July, just before his murder. The subject of his murder was brought up, and Mary had chimed in. "I know something about Norma that will get her put away." Brian's family were interested then in what it was that she had to say. I mean, I would too if I was a parent and a child recently died and a kind of troubled kid was saying this. I'd be like, what do you mean? So, they were interested, and she had said Norma put her hands on a boy's throat. suggested that maybe Brian was hiding behind a pile of cement blocks. And Pat said that he can't be because he would never play there. Mary was essentially just trying to make him find her dead brother's body by being like, no, he's over there, you know. So when they couldn't find Brian, the police were called in to search for him. And by 11:10, they had found him exactly where Mary said he would be. His body was found covered in grass and purple weeds and had visible signs of neck strangulation. And near his body, they had found a pair of broken scissors. He had had stab wounds on his thighs, and his genitals were partially skinned, with clumps of his hair cut off as well. They had found an M had been carved on his stomach, and it was only visible days later, looking as if someone originally tried to carve an N first, but an extra mark was put onto it to turn into an M. The cuts and punctures on his body were found to be sort of playful, adventurous, and vicious for some of the words that were used. It had pointed that a child actually fit the profile of the suspect. So 24 hours had passed and the town of Scottswood had been flooded with CID officers, and children were sent home with questionnaires. Mary and Norma also received them, and both admitted to have spent the better part of that day together. Their statements didn't match up, and they changed them twice. Mary had claimed that she'd seen an 8-year-old boy playing with Brian. She said that she saw him hit Brian for no reason, and that they were playing with a pair of silver-colored scissors that had something wrong with them. No indication of scissors being found near the body was made clear to the public at that point. So, very incriminating since only the police were aware of those scissors. So, the chief inspector on the case stated that by the end of Friday, August the 2nd, everyone was eliminated as a suspect aside from Mary and Norma. It was pretty obvious that it had to be one of them, right? So Detective Constable Thomas went to Norma's house Sunday, August 4th, to question her about her statements' inconsistencies. Norma had then broken down into tears and asked to speak to the detective without her father around. They had stepped aside, and she told the detectives she was at Delaval Road with Mary and her dog. Mary had taken her to see Brian. She later told the chief that she went with her to the blocks that day, and when they were walking around, she tripped on something. When she looked down, she saw Brian's head covered with grass. She had stated that Mary told her, "I squeezed his neck and pushed up his lungs. That's how you kill them. Keep your nose dry and don't tell anybody." Norma said that would be traumatizing, by the way. If you're a kid and you're a troubled kid and your friend's like, "I did this," that would be pretty, I don't know, that's rough. Obviously, but like, imagine just being that child, like, such a confusing time already. other one is. And there's Norma, right? So Norma said that his lips were purple, and Mary ran her fingers along his lips. She said Mary then showed her a razor and lifted Brian's shirt to reveal tiny cuts she had made on his belly. Norma then told the chief that Mary hid the razor under the blocks and told her not to tell anybody, or else Mary would get in trouble, right? So the chief inspector then took Norma to the blocks, and Norma reached under and sure enough pulled out a tiny Gillette razor. They had taken her to the police station, and she then wrote a formal statement documenting all of this. So on Monday, August 5th, 1968, at 12:15 a.m., Mary Bell was woken from her sleep and brought downstairs in for questioning. What a late time to question an 11-year-old. But I mean, they probably wanted her, like, subdued, maybe. I don't know, but what a weird time of night to be like, hey, little one, wake up. I mean, she's a monster. She doesn't really deserve the grace. But it's just like, what a time to have chosen. I don't know. So after 3 hours of interrogation, she had stuck to her story of not knowing anything. And on Wednesday, August 7th, Brian's family were burying little Brian. Mary was at this point not charged with anything. The chief inspector had witnessed Mary laughing and rubbing her hands as Brian's coffin was being brought out of the house. So like, that's awful. Gross. At 4:30 p.m. the same day, Chief Inspector sent a policewoman to get Mary. She was pale, stressed, and not wanting to cooperate, but finally agreed to give a statement. She had claimed that it was actually Norma who killed Brian. She stated that Norma started to feel up and down his neck. She squeezed it hard, and you could tell it's hard because her fingertips went all white and stuff. Sorry, that's messed up, but white and stuff. And Brian was struggling. I was pulling her shoulders, but she went mad. His face was all white and bluey, and his eyes were open. And Norma covered him and said, I said to Norma, I've got nothing to do with this. I should tell on you, but I'll not. Thursday, December 5th, 1968, Mary and Norma's trial for the murder of Martin Brown and Brian Howe's murder started and lasted 9 days. Mary and Norma had stuck to their stories that it was the other who had committed this murder. Norma's behavior and attitude in the courtroom, however, is what made her story more believable. Dr. Robert Orton, who had already seen Mary on 2 occasions, said that Mary had suffered from a psychopathic personality and defined some symptoms as a lack of feeling, a liability to act on impulse, aggression, and an intense lack of remorse. I mean, she went to the parents and was like messing with them, you know. Norma was cleared on the charges on the grounds of diminished responsibility. The jury found Mary guilty of manslaughter, and Judge Justin Cusack sentenced her to detention for life in a detention center. Over the years, Mary's case was reviewed, and if at any time the psychiatrists thought that she'd been cured of that personality. Over the years, Mary's case would be reviewed, and if at any time the psychiatrists think Mary had been cured last details of her was in 2003, which is pretty wild. So, yeah, no one has heard anything of her. Her whereabouts are unknown and will remain protected by the 2003 High Court order, which is pretty wild. I was also reading too that some of the statements Norma had said, like, Norma explained everything to the cops, right, of what had happened, but also apparently she did see it happen. It wasn't Mary showed her later. There's conflicting statements of they were both there together, and Mary started attacking and saying, "Oh, I'm getting tired, can you take over?" And Norma ran away to only come back and see it later, and vice versa. So there's a lot of conflicting information. Norma's like, "I never touched him, I never saw it," but then said she did. So obviously they're young kids. There's information of Mary telling Brian when she'd strangled him that if he laid down, that she would give him candy and then attacked him that way. But honestly, for how much information is conflicting, the fact is they'd killed him. Mary, most likely. But what do you guys think? Do you think that Norma had more involvement? Do you think that Norma was simply wrong place, bad friend, horrible scenario? And do you think that it's crazy that Mary is still protected under that act of, remaining anonymous? Let me know what you guys think of today's case and story. I would love to hear your feedback on this one. Comment below. Because of all the conflicting, like, oh, and they said this and they said that, I didn't include too much of it. But whatever you guys would like others to know, mention it below. It's just so, did it happen? Did it not? But either way, these two girls definitely harmed people, be it Mary all alone, be it the two of them together. Who knows, who knows? Psychological evaluations they went under show Norma was intellectually delayed and very submissive, who easily displayed emotion, but Mary was very bright, cunning, smart, but prone to sudden and intense mood swings, and less emotional. She was very willing to speak and talk, but would really rapidly become like kind of sullen and very introspective and defensive. So she switched a lot. Four psychiatrists claimed that Mary, although not suffering really from a mental disorder, did suffer from the psychopathic disorder, stating that her social